their technology. All right, so welcome everyone. We're just again waiting another minute or so to officially get started, but this is a Clear Admit Essay Insight event for masters in management programs. We've got 4 amazing panelists from some of the top programs, business schools in the United States, and I'm really excited to talk to them about their programs. And we have a number of questions. We'll get into some of the application process stuff that I know candidates are always interested in. So we'll just give it another minute here, and then we'll get rolling because we have a lot to cover. If you are joining us, if you could use the chat box at the bottom and post to everyone, just let us know where you're joining from. It'd be really interesting to see where folks are tuning in from. So if you're with us here, just take a moment to maybe drop what undergraduate you're attending or what city you're in, whatever you prefer. Just throw that up into the chat box there, and we can get started. All right, so folks are not very talkative yet. I see we have a few people in here, but there we go. Buffalo, New York. Wow, okay. So I'm guessing it might be cold in Buffalo, New York, as given the time of year. Thanks for sharing that, Allison. So in any event, I think we can probably get started because we have a lot to cover. I see Ann Arbor, Michigan. Cool. So let's roll, though. I'm going to just introduce our panelists, and then we're going to talk a lot about all that they have to offer in their master's in management programs. So I'm Graham. I'm the co-founder of Clear Admit. I'm going to moderate today's session and walk you through. Let's introduce each of our panelists. So first off, from Carnegie Mellon, the Tepper School of Business, we have Dunya Khoury. She's an assistant director for master's admissions over at Tepper. Welcome, Dunya.
Hi, everyone.
Great to have you. Next up, we're going to be joined by Mary Hall, who's the assistant director of graduate admissions at Emory. And I always have trouble with this, but I'm going to say, is it Goizueta or is it? I always have trouble with it.
It's Goizueta.
Goizueta. Yeah. And I know you guys made a video about this too that I watched at some point that was like an excellent thing. And then it just sort of like evaporated from my brain now that I had to actually say it again.
That's okay. And there's actually what the video's point was, there's however you say it is fine.
That's right. I remember that.
Nice to join you, everybody. I'm Mary Hall. It's a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, great to have you. Next up, we're also going to hear from Marina Lant, who is an associate director for graduate and executive degree programs in admissions over at Georgetown's McDonough School of Business. Hi, Marina.
Hi, Graham. So nice to be here with all of you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And then last but not least, we've got Nadia Ewing, who's the associate director of graduate admissions over at University of Notre Dame's Mendoza College of Business. Welcome, Nadia.
Hello, hello. Thank you.
So just so that our attendees know, we're recording today's session, so no need to frantically scribble notes. It will be up online and stuff for you to watch if you have specific questions. What we're going to do first is we have some sort of general roundtable questions. I came up with 4 questions, and we're going to give one to each school. Obviously, if co-panelists have further thoughts they want to add, we can do that too. But let's start with Dunya over at Tepper, Carnegie Mellon. I wanted to ask you, like, just in basic terms here, what is a master's in management program and who is it for?
Hi, thanks, Graham. Master's in Management is a master's program for students who are maybe looking to kind of get their foot in the door for potentially a business degree down the line and kind of set those foundational skills. Our program is designed for students who maybe didn't have a business background for their undergrad, are looking to pivot from a different program that they maybe thought their route was going to take them on and change their mind, or maybe looking to the future are interested in an MBA down the line. So it kind of opens the door, a quick program to get those foundational skills and a little taste of the business world before entering into the world of work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Anyone have anything that they want to add to that? Just sort of put up your hand or jump in if you want to add to that. Seems like, Dunya, you did a good job covering it. I mean, I like to think of it also in the terms of, there are a lot of folks out there who are liberal arts, kind of majors. And so they're studying history or political science. And then you come to that realization that getting some of those business skills can be really important when it comes to entering the workforce. So it seems like a perfect fit for that crowd as well. The next question that we have here in these roundtables is, I would love for Mary, if you could, Mary from Emory, if you could walk us through the curriculum of a master's in management. I'm just give us some of the, like, what are the subjects that make up the core? And then to what extent do candidates get to tailor the rest of the program via electives and that sort of thing?
Absolutely, I'm happy to. I know that at Emory Goizueta, our Master in Management program really does focus on doing about 50 to 55% of our curriculum as core elements. You'll be taking courses in finance, marketing, accounting, some sort of operations management courses, information systems, all of the really key backbone kind of core financial courses you would need to be successful in launching a business career. But we also want to have room to have the curriculum customized to your interests and to pursuing your own particular career goals. So the second semester is really focused on doing a practicum project and having curriculum or extra ideas of different types of courses you can take that help supplement the core finance courses. And I'd expect it to be similar at different schools as well.
Yeah, can we do a quick, Junia, is that about right for you all as well at Tepper? Is it about 55% core and then the rest sort of self-directed, or?
Yep, that's what we anticipate it to be, and then we would have the opportunity for specializations, which would be similar to kind of those electives and what they want to go into.
Okay, and how about Marina, how about you? Georgetown, similar kind of breakdown?
So ours is a little different, and we only have one elective in our curriculum because our
Okay,
curriculum is actually modeled after the first year of our MBA program. So it's a lot
okay,
more focused on those foundational business skills. But we do have sort of a practicum course. We call it our Global Business Experience, which is a real world global consulting project where students travel to consult with the company. So
got it.
you're going to get those foundational courses. And part of that reason is because we're STEM designated. So we have a
Okay,
high bar to meet in terms of the STEM content of our courses.
got it. Okay, and Nadia, how about at Mendoza? What's the breakdown there?
So absolutely. So we are a lockstep program. So our courses are going to be prescribed. Like at Georgetown, we are STEM designated. So we do have a prescribed list of courses that will need to be completed. However, we do offer a concentration in marketing and in finance. And so students will be able to take 2 classes for the concentration in the spring semester.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, that's really, I'm really glad that we did this sort of straw poll because it's a little bit different for each of you and important for everyone to know. The next roundtable question I wanted to direct to Marina at Georgetown, and I wanted to know, any sense of, like, what do people normally do after graduating? So, we talked about the skills they're going to get and how it can be really useful to upskill and get into the workforce, but what types of jobs do folks go into after this program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, as I think this is true for most masters in management programs, we're really looking at students who are early in their career or maybe coming to us directly after their undergraduate degree. And because most of these programs, Georgetown's program included, are designed to give you those foundational business skills, it's a really flexible degree. You can go into a huge variety of roles and sectors after graduation. I think every program probably has their own careers report that'll give you more details. But speaking more from the Georgetown perspective, I would say consulting and financial services are 2 really big industries that our students go to after graduation. Tech is also pretty large as well, but we have students in pretty much every industry: nonprofit, social impact, government, hospitality, real estate, you name it. We've probably had a student go to that industry after graduation. So it's really flexible in terms of, I think, this degree is more about building particular skills. And while there are some more common career paths, you can really take it anywhere that you want to take it after graduation.
Got it. Yeah, and I mean, I think anyone who has any familiarity with Clear Admit knows that we are big fans of graduate management education, and that's one of the main reasons is that flexibility. I feel like when you look at any other professional degree, you very quickly get sort of pigeonholed into, you're going to be a lawyer or you're going to be a doctor. And the beauty of business is that it opens so many doors that it's really hard to kind of say that someone's going to go off and do any one thing. And people often, over the course of one career, they'll, move into many different directions. And I love that flexibility. So does anyone else, I mean, is there anything that Marina didn't really cover here that you all wanted to add in terms of the types of careers that people are typically pursuing? All right, I think we're good there. So the next question we had, and this one is for Nadia, and this is, more about the application process. So just kind of curious, like, what are you looking for when you review an application for Master's in Management, and what makes someone competitive?
Absolutely. So we are looking for a well-rounded applicant. So we want to see their involvement in the classroom. So definitely, of course, looking at the academic coursework that they completed. We are also looking for students who are going to be mission aligned. So they are kind of following in the values that we have. And we can see that in their involvement in activities, community service. We are also looking for students who are going to contribute to the common good in that vein as well. And additionally, we are looking for students who are going to really give it their all. So they're going to be all into the program, utilize the resources that are available for them. So when it comes to competitive applicants, we're going to see that comes across to us in the application where you can kind of elaborate on different involvement. Maybe you are a captain of the basketball team, and so you can talk about your experiences as captain and how that can be applied into different roles. If you don't have internship experience, again, this is an opportunity to use other groups or teams that you've been involved in and kind of showcase your skills and highlight those there.
Yeah, I feel like you're making a really important point here, which is that when people apply to business schools, they often think of, oh, everything has to come out of, when I'm talking about great things I've done, it has to come from those summer internships or the kind of quote business experience that I've had. When the reality is that many undergrads have such amazing leadership opportunities on campus with activities or sports, or I mean, there's so many other things that folks are doing. And I think, I'm sure we'll hear more of this as we go through the webinar today, but it is important to not rule out some of those things when, when mining your background, just to think about what you can talk about in the application process. So anything that anyone wants to add on that one? All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to move into the next part of the webinar. And here what we're going to do is I'd love to just have each of our panelists take a little bit of a time to highlight like one aspect of your program that you think candidates should be aware of. And then also, if you could, just tell us something about your admissions process that's also maybe a little different or unique, like some element in the process that you want candidates to be aware of. So we'll start, again, just going alphabetically here. Dunya, if you could sort of take us through, just highlight something about the program and something about the admissions process.
Sure, absolutely. So our program will actually launch this fall. So it'll be the inaugural cohort, which is exciting. We're anticipating starting with a smaller group, and something that we're excited to kind of see how it goes will be that students will have the opportunity to be taking a lot of courses with our other master's students. So some of the courses will be with our MBA students. And that is for the reason that a lot of the classes in our master's in management will be those foundational skills that if a student wants, they'll have the opportunity after completing the program, getting a couple years of work experience, they'll have the opportunity to come back and potentially get an accelerated MBA from Tepper. So something exciting that we're hoping to try out and see how it goes. And then we also are offering 5 specializations. So students can kind of tailor their year in the Master of Management with finance, operations, strategy, entrepreneurship, and marketing. So excited to kind of see how students end up tailoring their time here at Tepper. Within the admissions process, I think our review of applications is very holistic. So we're looking for kind of like others shared, that well-rounded student. We understand, students may have gone into a major that really wasn't what they were hoping for, or they're wanting to add on and pivot maybe onto a liberal arts major, things like that, and get those foundational skills. So we're looking at, opportunities for any kind of leadership with internships or within clubs and activities. But then, of course, also reviewing transcripts and just the things that we ask for in the application. I know we'll be getting to talk about the essay and video essay a
Yes.
little later, so I won't touch on that piece as much right now.
Okay, so I actually, one of the things you said, I think merits a show of hands amongst our panelists. So it sounds like what you're saying is that someone could do the master's in management and then go work and potentially come back to Tepper and do a 1 year, spend another year in class and end up with an MBA. Is that what, that's
So
correct, right?
I don't know that it's going to be 1 year specifically. Our MBA program is 2 years, but it would be an accelerated version.
Accelerated version.
So
Okay.
somewhere in the less than 2 years, but
Right.
around
Okay.
the 1 year range. Yes.
Do any of our other panelist programs offer that ability to kind of come back? And if you've already done a master's in management, either pursue the MBA in an accelerated fashion, or is there any, are any of you offering that? No? Okay. I was just curious because I think that it's a question that, comes up where someone does a master's in management and it can be a nice springboard eventually to getting an MBA. And I'm sure that you all would agree that you probably look favorably upon people who've come to your school and done well in the master's in management if they were to want to come back and do an MBA. It sounds like that would be, having known that they already excelled in your programs, would be smart. All right, so let's move on though and talk with Mary about Goizueta. And I wanted to, again, same idea here, just highlight some aspect of the program that you want to share, and then something about the admissions process too.
Certainly. One of the things, as I already touched on a little bit, that we think is really important about our program is that it does give you an opportunity to really pursue your own interests through that second semester ability to choose your electives. We have students that are applying that are coming from all sorts of different majors and backgrounds, some in the sciences and STEM fields, some in liberal arts, some in fine arts. And so it really is going to be hopefully an opportunity for you to take our program and get the core skills and then customize it to whatever particular career goals you have. One of the highlights of our program in the second semester is that we are going to have more of a hands-on practicum type project, that you will have an opportunity to work with the team to work on a project with a real world business problem and have company executives there to mentor you. So one of the nice things about that is some people will be coming into the program with internship or research experience, some will not. But this opportunity during the program will give you a real hands-on opportunity that when you're interviewing, you have some practical and specific examples you can draw upon. So we think that's a real benefit to the program. In terms of the application process, I would echo what Nadia had said. We're looking really for well-rounded applicants from all majors that are STEM, liberal arts, fine arts types majors. We are looking for students who have a passion for what they're doing, a desire to really be a strong member of the cohort. It is also our inaugural cohort, so we want students who are enthusiastic and wanting to make a difference. I do want to highlight on some things that we are not considering right now in terms of this particular master management program. It is meant for students who do not have an undergraduate business degree. We feel that we're going to be teaching those skills and core foundation skills. So if you already have a BBA or a business minor, a lot of it would be repetitive. So it's really for non-business majors. Our program is not STEM designated, which may be important to note for international students. We have international applicants, but it is not STEM designated. And the other thing is that we do require 1 year or less of professional work experience. We want this to be a springboard for students who are looking to build on their skills. And it really wouldn't be a relevant program. We'd encourage those students with more than a year of professional work experience to pursue our other MBA and part-time MBA options.
Okay, yeah, that all makes sense. Appreciate you shedding light on that. Let's turn to Marina and hear what you want to share about the program itself, and then again, just something about the admissions process.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I would start by just saying glad to be here and share more about our program. I think one of the most unique aspects of the Master's of Science in Management program at Georgetown, we call it our MIM program for short, is that global business experience that I mentioned earlier. So in the spring semester of your program, all your work in the program, almost all the academic work in the program is done with teams, but you'll be put in a slightly different team. So you're going to be working with students you may or may not have worked with before in the program, and you'll be paired with a global company. So our students travel for 1 week in March to the location of that global company. This year, our students are traveling to Singapore, Dublin, or Buenos Aires. So a lot of sort of different locations you can travel to. And you'll be working with C-suite level executives of that organization on a real business problem. I often tell students you're acting as external consultants for this organization, and you're going to be working with them. When you're in the country for that 1 week, you have the opportunity to engage with the organization, maybe work with them for a day or two, explore their market, but really our goal is to give you a strong foundation in the social, political, and economic sort of conditions that that organization is functioning in that context. And we think this is a really valuable experience for students, even students who aren't interested in global business or in consulting. It really helps you understand different parts of business, different sectors, different organizations and roles. So it's going to help you on that clarification side. We're looking for students with between 0 and 3 years of full-time work experience. So really getting to understand the types of roles and the type of work that's out there that will then help you find fulfillment in your work. That's a really important part of the program for us. And sort of to the similar point that Mary made, it's really helpful in that recruiting process. And when you're talking about interviews, you get those hands-on skills in consulting and global business that you can then talk about really for the rest of your career in a lot of ways. In terms of the application process, I know we'll talk a little bit about essays and things later. I always like to highlight our video essay because I think it's a unique part of our application. We ask applicants to introduce themselves to their future classmates. And a big part of our application is we want to know you and your story. We're really interested in the unique perspective that you're going to bring to our classroom, our cohort, and the broader McDonough and Georgetown communities. So I always encourage students to get a little creative with our video essay and share unique aspects of you and your perspective.
Got it. Very helpful. I see we did get a question in the Q&A. We'll just hold that for a second. We'll come back and try to tackle it because it's an important question about deferred enrollment versus master's in management programs. So Nadia, let's turn to you. I'd love to hear more about the Master of Science in Management, and then a little tidbit about your application process.
Absolutely. So one of the components of the program that I think we get lots of excitement from the students, and they tell us that they're really looking forward to it, is our Grow Irish component. Grow Irish is our experiential learning component. We have a Grow Irish in the fall and also in the spring semester. And so for this past fall, students were able to work with companies in different regions. So I think Grand Rapids was location, Milwaukee, Chicago, the St. Joseph area. So the students were paired into groups of 5 to 6. They met with the local companies. They learned of a problem that the company was experiencing. And during that time, they were there for a week. They were able to learn the culture of the company, learn more about the issues that they were having. And they then worked on a strategy or solution and presented it to the stakeholders at the end of the week. So this was a great opportunity for the students to really put to practice all of the information that they've been learning in the classroom and real-time, real-world experience. And so it was a great opportunity also for the companies that came, the companies that our students worked for. They were really excited about the solutions the students presented, and most of them are going to really consider the solutions the students presented. Again, that was for the fall semester. The spring semester, we are partnering with athletics, the football team specifically, for our blue gold game that's held this spring. And so students, based on your concentration, the finance and the marketing track, they will be working in teams to different areas. So marketing, how can they market the tickets? Finance, how can they do financial modeling for the cost for the tickets? So there'll be a competition between the different groups. But a great time to really utilize the resources that we have on campus, and everybody loves Notre Dame football. So exciting time here. As far as the application, one thing I like to highlight is similar to the video essays, we actually have a component where students are given questions, maybe 5 questions, and they'll have a minute or 2 to answer those questions. So you'll start off with an icebreaker and record your response, and then the following questions soon after. So I think that's a neat component for students to, think on their feet, but remain poised and concise in their responses.
Okay, yeah, it's super helpful. And I know, yeah, many of you have moved into, many schools actually have moved into this kind of video domain where there's a, video essay or, answering questions like this. So it's very helpful for those joining us to kind of learn about that. The next part of our discussion today, we're going to get into kind of the nitty gritty on some of the essays, because I know, this is always top of mind for people thinking about applying. All of you have essay questions or even, video components to the application. And so I thought it'd be useful to talk a little bit more about that. So what we've done is for each school, each of our panelists, we have your slides, your essay topics up on screen here. And what I'd love for you to do is just pick one of your topics. In this case, I think it's gonna be easy for Dunya because you guys have it looks like you just have the one, although you also have a video that maybe you'll talk about. So take us through kind of why you asked this question and yeah, anything you want to share about it. And then I may have a follow-up question or two for you on this.
Sure. So we have one written essay question and then we have the video essay question as you shared. And when we're looking at applications, there's a lot of numbers, stats, things that we're going through in terms of your transcripts and test scores and things like that. And so with our essay components, we're really looking for learning more about you as a person. So within our programs, with this being the inaugural year, it's hard to say specifically, what this is going to look like, but we've used similar questions for our other master's programs, and our master's community is very collaborative. Students are working together a lot of the times in teams, and in the workforce, that's the same idea. You're going to be working on teams to solve projects and things like that. So our written essay is really focused a lot on how you've created or been in environments where there's collaboration, support, inclusivity, and things like that for just a successful teamwork all around. And then our video essay focuses a little bit more on your goals post MSM and post graduation to see kind of how your goals align with what our program has to offer and making sure that it's the best fit. So that's just kind of a brief overview of the two.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. And I guess I wanted to ask you a question about this first essay. It's really the only essay, but there's this in the video. But let's start with this one. I wondered, candidates might think that, while they could talk about an instance where they experienced an inclusive environment, that they will get like more points if they talk about an instance where they created the inclusive environment. And yet, it could be that that first experience was maybe more meaningful in some way. And so would you be willing to like sort of go on record and debunk that notion and say that either, I mean, is it true that either is totally fine? I mean, I just want to make sure we underline that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. I think, we understand that you don't always necessarily have the opportunity to have created an environment that's inclusive or been in a situation where that needed to happen because it wasn't already an inclusive environment. So being a part of one is totally acceptable. I think there isn't necessarily the weight isn't tipped one way or the other based on how you answer that. I think ultimately we're looking for people who can be good contributors to a team. And we understand, coming into the MSM program, we're looking for people with 0 to 2 years of work experience. So you may not have had that kind of opportunity or environment to stand as a leader quite yet. And so understanding, being a good team player and being a contributor to a team rather than a leader right away is okay. And those are kind of the skills we're hoping to equip you with so that if you choose to go into a leadership role down the line, that you're able to do so. So yes, I'll go on the record to say either is fine.
Okay. And I would think, being in a university setting, people applying to these programs would have ample experience of, joining clubs and activities where, presumably they're lots of great inclusive environments that they've been a part of. And so, yeah, should be no shortage of stuff to talk about. Quick question on the second quote essay, which is really a video. Anything, I mean, is there anything that you want to say about like how one could structure this? I mean, it's only 2 minutes. And so, I mean, and again, I recognize this is the inaugural year, but perhaps you've asked this video question in some of the other programs and you've seen how people structure it. But I'm just wondering, any tips, like if I'm sitting down mapping out, like, what do I do with these 2 minutes? Is there a good way to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you've said, we've had the video essay for our other programs, so absolutely have some tips from those experiences. But in general, like you said, it's 2 minutes. It goes pretty quickly, but we would encourage people to, take the time to introduce themselves and really have kind of be prepared and have practiced. So kind of going through those main points that you want to share, addressing the different points of the prompt and sharing kind of who you are, what you're looking to do, why you think this program is a good fit for you, and then your future goals afterwards. I think those would be kind of the 4 big chunks that you could work to chunk it out in. I think the biggest tip I would give for the video essay is to not be reading it. So we
Yes.
come across a lot of those where students are simply reading, and that's really not what we're looking for. If we wanted to read or hear something be read, that we would just have another written essay. So it's really a
Yeah.
chance to kind of get to know you, hear your personality, hear a little about you through your words. So practicing is just fine, being prepared just fine, but we would encourage people not to be reading during that video essay.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you pointed that out because I was thinking like if you're practicing, bullet points are great. Don't script it out because if you're going to
Right.
read from a script, there's no real point in having the video essay. It's the whole point is to be a little bit more off the cuff, right? So, great advice. I appreciate you shedding light on both of the kind of components here of the application that we're reviewing. Let's move on and talk to Mary. Mary, take us through, tell us a little bit about, you have 2 essay questions here. One of them's optional, but whichever one you want to talk about, just let us know why you ask it and what you're looking for.
Okay, great. And I was going to say it's interesting because I feel like our essay number 1 is basically the same kind of content that the Carnegie Mellon Tepper essay is, but only in written format. Really what we're looking for in essay number 1 is really, if the question is, what are you passionate about and how do you want to enhance your business skills? And that is what we are looking for, is how do you articulate what this program will bring to you in terms of reaching your career goals? Maybe you were an undergraduate biology major, but now you want to go work in a pharmaceutical type company in more of a management role and, leverage your biology background working in that. Describe really that path and how this will help you take you on the path and what you're excited about. What do you see yourself doing with your career? So that is kind of the elements of that essay question that we're looking for. Tell us a little bit about what you've done so far, why it's important to you, how you want to continue to build upon that, and what your hopes and dreams are for the future. So that is real, and how our school can be a part of them. So that is part of it. The other thing we do look for and in that essay is knowledge of Emory and our school and our program. So, if you see any on the website or an information session, anything that particularly resonates with you that you think is exciting to you, we do want to see that you've learned a little bit about our program and actually see a connection and an alignment between what you're trying to do and what we have to offer. So that is essay number 1. And then the essay number 2 is an optional essay. And I want to elaborate a little bit on this. Is really we do consider all students for merit scholarships, but the larger scholarships or fellowships will be awarded based upon the answer to this essay. And so really we would ask you to consider, why would you be worthy of merit consideration for a larger scholarship? Is there anything that you've done in terms of your undergraduate experience or internship experience or research experience that really stands out? Is there something special about your life story that's taken you to this point in time that you've had to overcome to get to this point? So really just, that's what we are looking for in evaluating our scholarships and fellowships, is who stands out in a well-rounded way and as a leader in our potential cohort. So that's what that essay should address.
Okay.
And then I guess overall,
Yeah.
there's another essay at the bottom. The mission of Goizueta Business Schools to prepare principal leaders for an influence on business and society. And again, that's something that I think, you can wrap into your essay one, how those core values resonate with you and how they would be applied.
So one of the things I was curious about with the first essay is,
Yes.
let's say someone's like super passionate about running, and that, that's like where they go running many times a week, they do marathons, but then the question seems to be more professionally oriented, right? So the idea, I think you would advise that person if they also have, maybe they have a career that they're envisioning in, it could be in finance or something, it could be in whatever, but they probably need to go more on the professional side with this first question. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. I think, and I think that maybe that I'm really glad you brought that up because maybe you have you're fascinated with cats and you have 20 of them. That's not what we're looking for in this essay. We are talking
Okay.
about what are you passionate about from a career perspective and
Okay.
from a study perspective. So
Okay.
thank you.
I mean, I guess it's possible if someone was like passionate about running and wanted to work for Nike or in the sports
Absolutely.
industry, then the two kind of come together, right? But
Yes.
okay. And then it does sound like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like for the sort of fellowship essay, that there's no reason not to fill it. I mean, well, I guess if you're a millionaire or something, you don't want the money, but like there's no reason not to go for the funds, right? I mean, people should write that essay if they're interested in getting some extra funding.
Absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned, we do try to consider all students for scholarship opportunities, but the
Mhm.
ones that are taking the effort to write this fellowship essay will be considered for larger scholarships.
Right.
So,
Okay. That makes sense. All right. Appreciate that. Let's move on and talk with Marina a little bit about how things work at Georgetown McDonough for their master's in management. So with it, we've got, I think we might have two slides for you guys. I can't remember because I got to go back and, but I think we have, so let's start with this. I mean, you can take us through whichever aspect you want to take us through here. And then I definitely have some follow-up questions because these are kind of interesting essay topics.
Definitely. I'll start by saying just an overview of the essays. So we have two required essays, the written personal essay, which are the prompts you see here, the video essay, which I discussed briefly, and then we
That's
have
right.
two, we call them optional statements. Happy to talk about this more if we have questions, but I think it's helpful to keep in mind that there are two additional spaces to share things about yourself and your application that may not fit in our two required essays. So that's something to keep in mind. I think with these prompts, I really like our essay prompts. I think they're unique. Sort of to call back to what I said earlier, a big goal that we have at Georgetown is to create a class of students who have had a variety of personal, professional, and life experiences. And I think one of the best ways that we can do this is by giving you all the opportunity to select one of these three prompts that you think best enables you to share your experiences with the admissions committee. As you can see, our prompts really don't reference anything about your professional experience or your career goals, but I do think there's an art to being able to both answer our prompt, share things about yourself, and share information about how your past experiences have influenced your career goals and how you feel our program is going to help you reach those career goals. So I do think it's important to incorporate that information in your application somewhere. I think the essay is a great place to do it if that makes sense. We truly have no preference between these three prompts. It's 100% up to you. Choose whichever prompt you think is going to best fit what you want to share with the admissions committee. But the one thing that I would note in terms of what the admissions committee is not looking for, they're not looking for a restatement of your resume. They have your resume. They want to hear more about you. And they're also not looking for like a literature class style essay. They want to learn more about you through sort of the fictional character, the quotation, or the genre of music that you're discussing. So, of course, feel free to share important context about whatever you're sharing, but really they want to know about you more than the character, the quote,
Right.
or the music.
Okay. Yeah, this is fascinating. And yeah, and the kind of, unusual questions. And I guess I had a couple of follow-ups if you'll humor
Sure.
me here. So the first was, in thinking about a character from a book or even music or like, is it, I sort of wonder what advice would you give to a candidate that's sort of on the fence between picking an artist or, author that you would know, that would think the admissions committee would be familiar with, versus something very esoteric that, maybe they're very passionate about. Should they worry about that at all, or it doesn't really matter?
Uh, I, I don't think it particularly matters. What I would say is I think your passion will come through in your writing. And
Mhm.
I think whether or not the admissions committee is aware of the particular character or quote that you're referencing is less important than the communication skills that you show by being able to clearly articulate the parts of that character or that quote that you feel are most important to you.
Mhm.
So it's totally okay if you feel that the admissions committee won't know, or we've had students who have referenced quotes in languages other than English. Please tell us the quote in English, please translate it for us, but that's totally fine too. So it's really up to you. But we are looking to see how you communicate that, especially if the admissions committee you think may or may not know what you're referencing in the essay.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that gets back to your original advice, really, about, just this isn't, it's more than just an exercise in sharing the genre of music or the character from the book. It's really about why. And so that makes a lot of sense. Then the last thing I was going to say is, we talk about choosing a quotation, and I think most people will think, okay, I need to go to a book or a famous speech and pull a quote. But for some people, something that like a parent or a mentor or a boss has said maybe really resonates too. So is that fair game? Like it could be like my grandmother said something that stuck with me for the rest of my life, and I could use that as the quote.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Okay.
I think sometimes those are the most again, your passion will come through that you're so deeply
Mhm.
connected to that quote. I think that's a great option as well.
Yeah, you probably get a lot of quotes from, super famous people that maybe everyone's heard already. So yeah, I get that. All right, so appreciate you delving into that. Nadia, let's talk with you a little bit about your process with the essays over at Notre Dame Mendoza. So we have an essay on screen here. And yeah, just take us through, and also you have the slide presentation, which is the second part. So whichever one you want to talk about a little bit, happy to listen in here.
Sure, absolutely. So there we do provide a prompt, kind of talking about one of the big fires here at University of Notre Dame during its early days and Father Soren. So it's a pretty popular story here. And so essentially what we see from this the story is the symbol of perseverance and vision. And so that's what our question really our essay prompt speaks to. So we want to know about a time in their personal and professional experience where they persevered and overcame obstacles, and what did it take to rebuild? Did you have to shift your thinking? What did you learn about yourself? So we really want to gather any transformational moments that you that the students have encountered, and how did that change? Did that change their overall goal? Did that change what they want to do? How did they bounce back from that? So it's just really a time for self-reflection in this piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting story. Like, I did not know this story
Yes.
before we kind of worked on this session today. So really fascinating to know, and such a inspirational thing. So it's like, so one question though,
Yes.
if I'm setting out to write this essay and I have some amazing, obstacle that I overcame, but that was like part of my childhood or maybe high school, versus something maybe a little less impressive but very recent from university, like is it okay to dig back into the archives if it's a really important kind of experience, or would you recommend kind of recency, like there being like a recency bias and focus on stuff that's recent?
Sure. I think it's going to be whatever caused for the most transformation. So if it was something in your life that has really challenged who you are and helps you be the person that you are today, we want to know that. We want to know about those experiences. But if it's something that's recent, we want to know that. So whichever I would say has been most impactful on your life, we want to hear that story.
Okay, excellent. And I want to, if we could advance the slide. I know
Yes.
you have this other question, which is a
Yes.
slide presentation. So you give people 4 slides and they get to
Yes.
just tell, it's kind of a blank canvas in a sense. And I just wondered, how have applicants used this in a memorable
Yes.
way? Like anything you want to tell us about this, because
Absolutely. So
it's a really cool thing.
yeah, the slideshow is my absolute favorite part of the application, because it really gives us a chance to see the student outside of just the numbers, outside of the transcript and the courses they've taken or test scores. So we want you to use this time, these 4 slides, to show us, tell us who you are the way that your family and your friends know you. So we don't need you to repeat your resume or all your courses. We want to see what things are you passionate about. And this is like personal stuff, not just from a business perspective. If you love dogs, talk about that. You know, if that's a big part of who you are, show us who you are as a person, because again, it is a holistic approach in our review. We want to get to know you. So this just allows us to get to know you in a different way. So don't spend time doing an intro like my name is slide. You only have 4 slides. So this is prime real estate. Like, we want to see pictures, we want to see text, we want to see all of these things to in the slide. So be creative and have fun with it. I hear from applicants, like, this is the favorite part of the application for them as well, because they just kind of tap into that creative side.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a fun exercise. So appreciate you shedding some light on how to approach that, and also on the tone that's needed for this. So very helpful. Before we move into the final section here, I had one question I wanted to ask each of you about, kind of a final tip, et cetera. I did want to address a question that we got from one of our attendees, which is, how do we compare a deferred MBA against a master's in management degree offering? And so I don't know if anyone wants to kind of take a stab at this, raise your hand or something. We can go around the panel, or however you. Does anyone want to take a stab? Mary's got her hand up. All right, Mary, go ahead.
I would love to just, one of the options, as I mentioned earlier, our program in particular is not an option for students who have an undergraduate business major or minor. So in that case, we've had some highly qualified applicants who do have those degrees. We highly encourage them to pursue a deferred MBA, because they clearly have the passion for business and a desire to go further. And we want to encourage that. And that's why I said there's always a program for somebody. So highly qualified applicants that have those kinds of backgrounds, we encourage them to pursue a deferred MBA. And that may be the best choice for you too. It gives you some opportunity to get some professional work experience too, and really see if that's still the area you want to continue in before pursuing your graduate study.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought of that point, and that's a really important one. I mean, the thing for me that jumps out right away is just the notion that with a deferred MBA, you're not starting school when you finish university. You're going to go and work. Whereas these programs are really, when you're talking about a master's in management, you can go directly in from undergrad, and so you stay in student mode while your brain's at its peak, performance. You can roll right into some really important management education. But Nadia, were you going to add something on this one? I saw you.
Yes, so similar to Emory, we are for non-business majors as well. 0 to 2 years work experience. So we're looking at the recent grad program as well. So and keeping that in mind, that's for our MBA program here at Notre Dame, the students need at least 3 to 5 year work experience. So it's a very different program. So it just depends on the path that you're interested in.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Any other thoughts, Marina or Junia? Junia, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that as well. So similar to the other 2 programs, the deferred MBA here at Tepper is only for students who have that kind of business background. So again, just 2 very different programs, whereas the MSM is going to be for students who are not coming from a business background. And so a lot of students with the business undergrad or something similar might already just have a job, and so they're securing their spot for an MBA after those years of work experience, and so that's a perfect route for them. Whereas everyone else who doesn't have that business undergrad can come right into the MSM and then highlight again that kind of accelerated MBA down the line.
Yeah. Marina?
Yeah, I think sort of different than some of the other programs here, we do accept applications from students who have a business background. I always encourage those students to be really explicit in your application why you want a master's in management so recently after completing a business undergraduate degree. I think there's a variety of reasons why that might be true. But for us, again, the MBA at Georgetown, we generally recommend a minimum of 2 years of full-time work experience. And I also like to emphasize that while the programs are similar, they are different. I think an MBA makes a lot of sense for students who have some work experience and want to pivot, or who want some of that more specialization that you would get in the electives at the second year of an MBA. Our Master's in Management program at Georgetown only has one elective. There's also only one specialization path in our MBA that is STEM designated, whereas all MIM students receive a STEM designated degree. So that's sort of a factor to consider as well. And I always like to plug for students, we actually have a deferred application process for our Master's in Management program. If you're in the penultimate year of your undergraduate degree, so traditionally it would be your third year of a 4-year degree, you're eligible to apply for the intake of the fall following the completion of your undergraduate degree. So if you are currently in the spring semester of your third year of a 4-year undergraduate degree, you could apply now to our Master's in Management program to start in fall 2025. So if you're someone who's really looking at it and you're debating between programs, you feel they both might be a good fit, or you really want them in program, there is a deferred option at Georgetown for that as well.
Okay, that's good to know. So I know we're running out of time here, but we did get one other question, which was just more around like how are candidates viewed if they have less than a year of professional experience due to visa limitations after completing a bachelor's. It sounds like, I mean, all of your programs, it sounds like could be fine for people. I mean, I think all of you have said 0 to, 1 or 2 years of experience is what you're looking for. So most people are coming directly from university into the Master's in Management. So my guess is it's not going to be a bad thing if someone has limited experience.
Just to add, if you don't mind,
yeah, go ahead.
Based on the question, I would say if you have significant gap in your work experience, a gap on your resume, reach out to us directly. We're happy to talk with you one-on-one about that process. And there's a space on our application where you can explicitly address that gap in your resume. I would encourage you to do that as well.
Okay. Yeah, great. We had one more thing that I wanted to ask each of you before I let you go. And it just kind of with the lightning round here, what's one tip that you would offer to someone who's applying to your program? So something they must do. And just to be fair, we're going to go backwards alphabetically because I feel like Nadia keeps getting punished for being at the end of the alphabet of this group of schools. So Nadia, one tip you would offer to someone who wants to apply to Notre Dame's Master's in Management?
Absolutely. I would say reach out to current students. We have a platform on our website where you can connect with the current students. I think that's some of the best advice and feedback that you can get is from connecting with a current student.
Great idea. I couldn't agree more. All right. So now I got to figure out, okay, so Marina, you're next. Going back, I'm off script going backwards for the alphabet. Yeah, Marina, what's one tip you would offer to someone who's applying to McDonough, Georgetown?
I would encourage everyone to attend an event, get a perspective. That's not the admissions office. And for a number of our events, we offer an application fee waiver for attendees. So save yourself $175.
Wow. Okay. And by events, you mean like an in-person event or even if some of them are virtual? You guys do both,
Almost
right?
all of our events are virtual,
Yeah,
although
okay.
Zoom. So you can always reach out. We'll send you the next one that qualifies.
Okay, that's perfect. All right. Mary, how about you? A tip that you would offer someone applying to Goizueta?
I'm starting to see the pressure of having to be the last one, Nadia, because I was going to say you both hit on points. I would always encourage people to try and either attend at one of our virtual events. And I think the only other, we also do offer an application fee waiver if you do attend our virtual events. So that's something I think is important. But I think the only other thing I would say is if you have questions, we're always happy to answer questions. And there are no bad questions. I can either answer them myself, one of my colleagues can, or we can connect you with one of our administrators or faculty members or students. So if you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask.
Okay, good. Excellent. Because I think sometimes candidates are afraid to reach out. They're sort of like, oh, I don't want to bother them, but I think, yeah, you're making a great point. It sounds like you're available to answer questions, which is excellent. Last but not least, Dunya, what's your tip here on this from Tepper?
Yeah, I would say I don't like going last, so I apologize that you all had to do that. But I think some great tips were brought up with this being our first year. I always encourage students to reach out to current students, but we don't have that. So we do have the option for students to visit campus if they'd like, and they can sit in on MBA classes since those first couple classes will be similar to the first year MBA courses. So campus visits are a great opportunity. Coming to virtual events, info sessions, things like that. We also offer a application fee waiver, and then just kind of reaching out and staying connected with the admissions team and MSM. This is kind of a new process for all of us, and so getting to hear student feedback and kind of connecting with the potential new students is always great. And then just one plug for the application. We also have an optional essay at the end that isn't really an essay, but if there's nothing else, if there's nothing, something that wasn't hit in the application itself, there's an opportunity for that optional essay. And we encourage people to share anything that might be missing from any of our questions, the video, all of that.
So show of hands with our other panelists. Do any of you all have an optional like a space for like adding something that, didn't? Okay, everyone does. Yeah. So that's useful to know. So appreciate you bringing that up, Junior, because I think, yeah, sometimes candidates, there's like some piece that they just couldn't work in. And so it's good to know that that's there. I wanted to thank each of you for your time today, and also our attendees for joining us. We've got your deadlines here up on screen so that everyone can see that. One thing that didn't come up today that I always think about that's great about applying to business, get further kind of business education or your first kind of business education while you're still in university is that I feel like it's easier. You're kind of in the mindset of, whereas when you go and work for a few years and then you've got to take a test or even write essays, like it's like, wow, I haven't been doing that for a long time. So I think when you're in, school and you're looking at a program, it's always that much easier. And, we can see the deadlines here on screen. Still plenty of time left for people to get applications in. So that's all here. And yeah, I just wanted to sincerely thank you, Junia, Mary, Marina, and Nadia. Appreciate your time today. And again, this is recorded, so it'll live forever on the internet. People can watch it, and you can send people over to see it if they have questions. But appreciate everyone's time, and thanks attendees for joining us. We are going to be doing another event just like this next week. And now I'm going to forget which schools are joining us, but I think it's Duke, Chicago, Kellogg, and Michigan, if memory serves. So come on out next week, same time, same place. If you can make it, we'd love to see you. So thanks again, everyone, for taking part.